the EGB Teacher of the Year is Amy Blanchard.
On behalf of Georgia Cyber Academy's board, leadership, and staff, I want to congratulate you on being the 2022-2023 Teacher of the Year. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate all of you guys voting for me. That you guys all know that this job is not an easy job. Teaching in general is a difficult position that we're in, especially these days. So I really, really, really appreciate it. It means a lot coming from people that know what the job is like. So thank you guys so much.
On today's episode of Hootworthy, I got to talk to Miss Amy Blanchard, a third grade ELA teacher here at GCA. She's been with us 4 years, but been teaching a total of 21 years. She came on the show to talk about winning the Teacher of the Year award. We talked about the rewards and challenges in the teaching profession, why she got into teaching in the first place, and what winning the award means to her. Enjoy the show. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Miss Amy Blanchard. Third grade ELA teacher, been with GCA 4 years, but you've been teaching 21 years.
That's correct.
And you're on Hootworthy because you won Teacher of the Year.
Yes. Crazy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Of course, but what does winning this award mean to you?
Well, it's incredible. It's actually, I feel like I'm kind of in like this little dream state because, you know, when I started teaching, I never anticipated, that's not something that I signed up to, like, oh, I'm going to be a teacher so I can be Teacher of the Year.
Right.
So it means a lot because I was voted by my peers. And so when you're nominated and voted in a position from people that do your job and understand the ins and outs on a daily basis, it means a lot.
That's awesome.
Lots of long hours,
Yes.
and you know, to win this honor, it means a lot.
That's amazing. Long hours? What are you talking about? Teachers, it's just the bell to bell, right? That's it.
I wish.
Clock in, clock
Yeah,
out.
no.
That's
There's,
all.
in fact, last night, because I knew I was going to be here with you today, I worked a little bit longer last night trying to get some stuff knocked off my list.
You did that for me.
I did.
Oh my gosh.
I did.
Thank you so much. So we'll backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
You win Teacher of the Year. You've been doing this 21 years, but why did you become a teacher in the first place? Was this something that you just grew up as a kid knowing you'd always want to do? Is it something you discovered high school, college? Like, why, Miss Blanchard, become a teacher?
That's a great question. I came from a family of educators. My great-grandmother was a teacher. Grandmother, my mom actually did win Teacher of the Year.
Nice.
When she was teaching. And my dad was also in education, actually went into administration. So I grew up all around teachers. And for the longest time, I was like, I'm not going to be a teacher. There's no way. Because I saw my mom would come home completely exhausted.
Right.
My dad come home exhausted, tired. But they were still fulfilled. Like they felt happy with their, you know, what they were doing. And then I started volunteering. We lived very close to the school that my mom worked at. So I would walk over and volunteer at the school. During the summers, I worked at a summer camp with kids. So it was like, you know, I was always around kids. I loved it. I loved the reaction that the kids would get when they, you know, started to get something, you know, it connected. So it was like, and, you know, I felt the passion for, you know, wanting to help these kids. So I was like, I guess I can't deny the genes. So
You're just talented. You're gifted at it, right?
Well, I wouldn't say that, but it definitely is something that is in my blood, and I feel passion for, you know, helping kids. So when I was looking at colleges, I decided, you know what, I think that this is my calling, and
Nice.
pursued it. So
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, it worked out. I mean, obviously you're doing something right. I mean,
yeah, so far I think I'm doing something.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I'm doing something right.
And you mentioned something about you helped out at these summer camps with children.
Yes.
What exactly was your role? Did you do a bunch of different things? I'm just kind of interested in that a little bit.
So it was a camp for students with disabilities. So I
Okay.
worked with kids that had autism, kids that had physical disabilities. It was a day camp. They would come, we would do crafts, we would go on field trips, things like that. But I also did, as part of that, there was a swimming, I was like a swimming aide for like swim
Sure.
instruction. And so that was and I am a swimmer, but not a strong swimmer. So that was an interesting part of that job. But yeah, it was super fun. I did that actually all through high school and then into college as well. During the summers, I would come home and work at that camp.
Fun.
It was therapeutic recreation was like the technical term.
Sure. Wow, that sounds very, very fun, and also that you discovered your passion you wanted to get into. So, what is something that you wish people knew about being a teacher? And you can answer this from like I wish students knew this about teachers, or I wish other teachers would know this about teachers, or people that don't know anything about teaching. You can answer this question any way you want, but just like, man, if people knew this, I wish they could understand this about teaching.
I think it's interesting that you asked that question because on social media lately, there's been a lot of, well, teachers don't have to work for 3 months out of the year. And then we actually just came off of a 2-week break. Oh, it must be nice to get paid to have a 2-week vacation, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, we actually don't get paid over the summer. Our paychecks are just stretched out to get paid throughout the summer.
Right.
But there are so many, in fact, I said just a little bit ago that there are outside of working hours. It's not like an office where you can just shut the door and be done for the day. There's, parents to call, paperwork to be filled out. We have meetings that, interfere with our normal everyday things that, require some things to be done outside of working hours. So it's definitely more involved than you realize. And you become emotionally involved with these families. So it's not just a go in, do your job and leave. It's after working hours are over, you're still thinking about what can I do to improve? So-and-so didn't understand this. What can I do differently to make them understand? So-and-so is having a really hard time. And the virtual aspect is a little bit different too, because I'm behind a screen. It's not like when I was teaching in brick and mortar where I could, go over and, pat them on the back or recognize that they have a new pair of shoes. I'm missing that piece. So there's a lot of, what can I do to connect to the child? So it's definitely emotionally involved, physically involved, mentally involved. So teaching is kind of an all-encompassing career. But as far as like students know, like teachers, we're like real people. I don't know if you remember like when you were in school, like if you ever saw your teacher out in public.
Oh yeah, it's
it's
so
like,
weird. You're like,
you
what?
go to the grocery store?
Yeah, you stay at the school. That's where you sleep, you eat, that's where you live.
Exactly. And like the kids will go, you have a daughter? And I'm like, yeah. And so it's for them knowing that, we're not just like these robots that come in and just do our job and leave. We have lives and we have children and husbands and families. And we go to Disney World too.
Yes, exactly. No, you stay at the school. That's where you live.
And I think going back to your previous question too, when my mom was teaching and we would like go out, the kids would see her out in public and they would be so excited to see her. I mean, who doesn't want to be like recognized as like a rock star? Like, and my mom last name was Taylor. Mrs. Taylor, you're like, they were so excited to see her. So I was like, I think I want that too. So it is fun to have that rock star.
They're a celebrity.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Like teachers are a celebrity to kids at points.
Well, and we spend more time with the kids sometimes than the families do. Especially when kids are in brick and mortar, where they're with their teachers more than they are with their, and so that.
And that's some reasons why some families choose GCAs, because they want to be around the kids more.
And to be a part of that process. Yes.
So if you could give students one piece of advice and you knew that they would follow it, like this one piece of advice, and they actually are going to do it, what would it be?
I don't know if I could just pinpoint it at one thing. Kind of twofold, I guess. One, believe in yourself. And two, like, don't compare yourself to other people, because everybody is on their own like educational journey. One of your friends is understanding something faster than you do, don't stress, because it all comes together eventually.
Right.
It always breaks my heart at the beginning of the year when we start the year and they're like, I can't do that. And it's like, guys, actually, yes, you can. Believe in yourself. Have confidence in your abilities, that you can do a lot more than you think you can.
I love that. Believe in yourself, because that's advice you can carry throughout your whole life. Doesn't matter if you're a student.
I feel like I need to take that advice for myself too.
Right. And a lot of times that is how, like, the advice you would give to others is advice that you want to give to yourself. And that's a great point about don't compare yourself, because so many people have, even if you're not that great at this thing, you can be great at that thing. And I'm sure that you encounter that with a bunch of different students encounter that. Like, maybe they're not strong in math, but super strong in ELA or vice versa. So no comparisons. I love that. So thinking about GCA, what is one of your favorite things about teaching at GCA?
Well, I don't have to wear shoes. That's fun for me. It is nice I actually decided to, and I started teaching at GCA before the pandemic. So before the whole virtual education thing was, a buzzword, if you will. My husband's in the military, so I knew that he was going to be deployed, and I had at the time 2 daughters that were in public education, and I wanted to have the ability to be there for them and not be stuck at a school building, and be able to help them the way that I could, with my husband being gone. So that was my reason for moving from brick and mortar to the virtual, because I knew he was going to be gone. But it's ended up being a really great situation for me and my family, and for me personally, because I feel like I get to focus on the education part of it, whereas before, when I was in brick and mortar, there was other issues and things that were coming up that I wasn't able to focus solely on the academic part of the kids' journey. So that has worked out, and the bonus is I don't have to wear shoes.
Sure, no shoes.
Yes.
No problem.
Yes.
That's actually should be our new slogan, right? No shoes, no problem.
Right,
Cyber
exactly.
Academy.
Yeah.
So when you think about, like, your teaching experience, you've been doing it 21 years. Can you share some of the, like, rewards of that, and then also the challenges of it? Like, you can just pinpoint a few of them, but when you think back on your career, like, man, what are some of the biggest rewards, rewarding things, wins, and then these things that you're like, man, those were difficult or challenges, but overcome them?
Rewards for sure outweigh the difficulties. Rewards being that the kids, are excited to see you every day. It's fun for me now, being in it for so many years, to have families that try and connect with me on social media, or even the kids now. And I'll be like, oh my gosh, so-and-so's old enough to have social media, but it's like, they were in 5th grade like 20 years ago. So they're definitely old enough. So it's fun to see and because I teach elementary school, I feel like a lot of kids, when they graduate, it's like, oh yeah, I remember my high school teacher. For kids to remember their elementary school teacher all of those years ago, it's fun. And I've only ever taught elementary, so it's fun for me to connect with those kids and see the progress that they've made and where they've come, and to see them as adults. That's kind of fun to see, because still you'll remember when they were little bitties in elementary school. Challenges, difficulties. I mean, gosh, testing is
testing.
State testing is always a difficult thing, and it's hard for me to picture kids all, wanting them all to be at the same level, when I know that everybody's working. And I say, don't compare yourself to other people. But then we've got state testing that is, requiring everybody to be at the same level. So that is definitely the biggest challenge. And virtually, the challenge, and I mentioned this earlier, is that connection. That piece that you've got to be creative in making those connections with your kids. So
no, that's a great point.
Be a challenge.
Yeah, it's like, how do you bridge that gap?
Right,
Virtual
exactly.
teacher, to create those, like, emotional, real connections
Exactly.
when you're virtual. So we've talked a lot about teaching, obviously, because you are a teacher and you won Teacher of the Year.
Yay.
But when you're not teaching, what are you doing for fun? What is Miss Amy Blanchard doing for fun? What are her hobbies? What's she doing?
Well, I love being with my family. I mentioned that my husband's in the military, so he's gone quite a bit. So when we're together, it is fun to be able to do things as a family. My oldest daughter's in college now, so it was fun this past break to have the whole family back together again.
Yes.
We love to travel. We're a Disney family.
Okay.
So our favorite place to go is Disney World.
Fun.
So we go pretty often. And Caitlin, my oldest, is in college in Orlando, so that's just an excuse now.
That's why she picked
That is
Orlando,
definitely one
Disney
of the
World.
things that drew her to that area.
So what ride are y'all all getting on? What's the famous, like your favorite ride as a?
Me personally,
you?
I am a Haunted Mansion fan.
Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, that's my go-to ride.
Nice.
But I think the reason I like Disney World so much, and it's kind of weird for some families or adults that are not Disney, it's like, why do you like to go to Disney World? But we've been going for so many years, and I equate that time at Disney to all of the, like, I can see my kids at different ages just experiencing it, and that's fun for me to reminisce. And
That is fun.
yeah.
And it's like a family tradition.
It is.
You've created.
It is,
And it kind of bonds memories.
Yes,
As
yes.
y'all have gone on, you can look back, and that's cool. So
Yeah,
people
definitely.
listening are probably thinking about, oh, what family traditions
Right.
do I have?
Right, exactly.
Like the one that you're sharing about the
So,
Disney.
and I love to read. That is,
Okay.
and I'm an ELA teacher, so
Of course, yeah, it would be weird, right?
Yesterday in class, I told the kids, tomorrow we're going to read one of my favorite books. Now I know I say that a lot. I love this book, but I really do love this book.
Nice.
So it is fun for me to share that. That is definitely probably my number one hobby.
Do you remember your favorite book growing up? You said you loved reading. Do you remember
Yeah, well, in fact, I
this
had this
book.
conversation with my mom over the break. There used to be a bookstore called Walden Books.
Okay.
I'm kind of dating myself here. And where I grew up, there was a standalone Walden bookstore. And I remember going to the bookstore with my mom. Of course, we always went to the library, but going to the bookstore was like, ooh, we're going to the
That's
bookstore.
thing.
Super
Right,
fun.
Right, yeah. It's like the candy store.
Yeah, exactly. It was. And I remember I loved Sweet Valley Twins, Sweet Valley High, Babysitter's Club. Those were
Yeah.
like my go-to books when I was growing up. So those were series. But I remember standing in the bookstore and just staring at all of the books on the,
Sure.
it sounds very nerdy of me, but
Well, yeah. It's like your candy.
it is.
ELA teacher's candy.
Yeah, and the smell of the books. And I'm that way with magazines too. People think I'm a little weird, but I like the smell of a magazine.
Everybody's a little weird.
Yeah, that's
If you're-
true.
If you're not weird, then that's weird.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Well, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It
And
was fun.
congratulations
Thank you.
again. But before we end,
Yes.
I know you want to give some shout outs. Who do you want to shout out?
Well, of course, like my family is my number one. I can't forget them. My husband, who listens to me cry and talk about things that he has no idea what I'm talking about. So I appreciate
Sure.
that. And then my daughters, it's when I was teaching before I had children, I loved it. But now that I have children, my kids are, older now. But when they were younger, as a teacher and a parent, I can make that. I feel like I have a better connection with my families because I am a mom. So of course my daughters for putting up with me and all my craziness. But the teachers that I work with at GCA are just phenomenal. I actually am excited and very fortunate because I get to work with not only the general education department, but as a special education teacher, get to work with the special
Right.
ed world as well. So I get to walk
Yeah.
in two worlds.
That's awesome.
And everybody that I work with is just so supportive. When I won the first time, the teachers that I work with in ELA, they were like my loudest cheerleaders. So that was super fun for me.
That's awesome.
And then my administrators are just so supportive and, even personally, not just on the education, they always, are checking in to make sure everybody's doing okay. So
That's awesome.
yeah, super fun.
Yes.
A great place to work. I'm very, very fortunate.
Awesome. Well, hey, we are fortunate to have you,
Thank you.
Sammy Blanchard, and we appreciate you coming on the show again. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
And stay Hootworthy.
I will. Thank you.
Thanks.
Just remember that we're here for the kids. That is our one purpose. And even though they're on the other side of the screen, it's my number one goal, and hopefully yours too, to make sure that they feel loved and appreciated. And, even though I'm 100 200, 300 miles away from them know that I love them and I care about them and I want them to succeed.